Yeah, well, there are several reports of various Proud Boys who are known snitches, basically, for the FBI and for the police. So they, and it's typically they will give them information about so-called Antifa members, or potentially they are Antifa. But yeah, there's since January 6th, it's come out that there are several who have come out and said, I think Joe Biggs was one of them, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been one of the other ones, but they've said, "Oh yeah, I've been working with the FBI for a long time, for years, giving
It
them."
was him. It was him. You're right. You're right. It was him. And Enrique, right?
Yeah, well, Enrique was a snitch for not just on Antifa, but yeah, for other criminals. He was giving up information, and he got a reduced sentence for some crime that he committed. And in return, yeah, he helped them arrest. I can't remember. I think it was like dozens of people over a period of years. So that's why he's kind of been pushed out, as I understand it, from the Proud Boys, because now they're like, what the hell? we had no idea that you were working with the FBI.
He's gonna get beat up in jail. They don't take lightly snitches like that.
Yeah, because he's back in now.
Yeah, like 5 months or something like that.
Yeah, 5 month sentence for destroying the BLM flag on a church. Oh, and he tried to take ammunition into the Capitol on January 5th.
Oh yeah, his magazine charges. I thought
Yeah.
I think they waived those because he maybe like pled or make a deal, and so like that's why he got 5 months just for like all of that. So I like found that interesting.
Yeah.
But I thought he was never going to get any jail time, to be honest with you. Because
Yeah, I didn't think so either. But
good for the system.
Maybe the cops are finally getting sick of the proud bigot stuff. I don't know.
They have to be. I mean, I don't know if you saw what happened in Portland just a few last week.
Yeah, they're just allowing everything to it's like free for all.
I mean, yeah, I mean, with the Proud Boys and the right wing groups that are a little bit more violent, they're on the police side, so to say. And so the police are more lenient to allow them to get away with stuff like that, which is just how it is, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Other difference than they say, I back the blue, but when it comes down to it, they are going to hit cops with American flags and flagpoles at the Capitol. I was just like, I found that humorous a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, they're like spoiled children who, as long as they're getting their way, they're fine. And then as soon as they don't get their way, then they throw a tantrum.
Yeah. Like, I had to hold myself from laughing at the Capitol. Like I was up at the front lines, and some people say some ridiculous stuff where it's just like, me knowing that is completely false, I was like holding myself from bursting out loud laughing. Some points I couldn't hold it, but like that's the point where I'm just like, I cannot laugh at what these people are saying, because they will catch on to the reasons why I'm laughing, because I'm not in support of them. But like seriously, it's just like when everything in you just is holding back from like this ridiculous comments that they're like, oh, there's this guy who's like, communist China is going to take over America. Like they're here, they're going to do it. And I was just like, I was dead. That was like a funny moment for me. Yeah. It's a guy at the top of the steps of the Capitol right before they break through to the balcony area. He's like talking to the police officer in this corridor. He's wearing like all red. And yeah, you'll see him in the video if you go back and watch it, but you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about. And he's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's people that I've profiled, and yeah, they say some really insane stuff. I think I just profiled somebody the other day, and he was saying that, what was it that, we left, but the military is going to decide now who's going to be the president.
Oh my gosh.
Where do you guys get this stuff? Like, how can you be that detached from reality and not know how things work in this country? It's like
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
That's what they listen to.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, you were on InfoWars not too long ago. Yeah. Why did you decide to do that interview?
Yeah, so I was on with Owen Sawyer, who's now arrested.
Right.
And yeah, that's an interesting dynamic that's playing out.
Yep. Yeah, I'm profiling him this week.
Oh, they what? Did he let them out or no?
Yeah, I think they let him go on his own recognizance, or he's out on bail or something like that, because he wasn't violent. So it seems like those are the only people that they're holding. Um, but yeah, that's going to be an interesting case, because technically he is the media, but then technically he violated his other, arrest agreement, deferred prosecution agreement that they had against him. So it's going to be tough.
So like, here's the thing I'm drawing, like, yes, he's the media, but Alex Jones and him organized an event that day to march towards the Capitol. They so-called reserved a spot on the other side. They got a permit, from what Alex says in his videos, not understanding if that's true or not. So like, are they media if they're actually holding a rally at that point, or they're not protesters?
Yeah. And to me, I mean, to call them media is a joke. I mean, when you're pushing conspiracy theories nonstop about, school shootings, and saying that little kids who were slaughtered are crisis actors, I mean, it's disgusting.
Right.
I mean, but at the same time, I don't believe in censorship. So, it's tough.
Right. I mean, but if you look at Alex and his group organization, it's about instigation, right? Like, they instigate situations. They like, when they contradict the narrative to get people riled up, right? And that's what they thrive off of. What do you think the Capitol was? Why would it be any different? And I can tell you, they went there with a mindset to do just that. I mean, like, he was egging on people the entire time. So I'm interested to see what the FBI is doing by arresting all of his associates, and if they're going to come after him, because Alex definitely profited off the Capitol. And if they did any sort of thing like they did to me, I mean, I can only imagine what they would do to Alex's organization. But
then why did you decide, knowing what feeling how you feel about their show, why did you agree to do an interview on their show?
Yeah, because I like to bridge gaps. I like to maybe have an understanding of who people are, and there might be misconceptions on how they see me and view me because of what they have heard or seen from videos or clips. And so I want to talk to them. And now I can say I've talked to them. I've let them know who I was. And if they want to push a false narrative from that point on, that's their prerogative. And then I can go after them for defamation of character, because I sat down with them and I had the discussion. And, I made an effort to bridge that gap. And so that's my methodology in doing so.
Okay. And when you were on the show, one quote that I heard was that you said that our voting system is rigged. What did you mean by that? In what way do you believe that our voting system is rigged?
That's a great question. Yeah, because I think the government's corrupt as a whole. I don't think it's just like biased towards, the left or the right. Biden cheated his way to office, or Trump cheated his way into office. I mean, they all have back end deals. They all, do their own shady things. I mean, I think when Biden was 35, he said in the video, I watched this the other day, he said that, no politician makes it to where they're at without, some back end deals, without paying somebody, because, to run a campaign, to get into these positions, you need money, you need donors. So you're going to owe a favor to those donors who donated to you. And so in return, that's where the corruption starts. And, it only proves itself in history through, you could read about any society in history where corruption has taken over a hold of the government on its back end, and things are being said and being done that are not in line with what, they're sort of portraying to the actual public. So, why would it be any different now?
Yeah. I definitely feel that there's some shady stuff that goes on. I don't believe that China flew ballots in for Biden, or that we're going to find bamboo fibers in the ballots. No. But
things like that, I'm just like, that's conspiratorial. Like, I know, like, there's corruption. I don't know. I can't tell you specifically exactly what it is to the dime, but like, people are saying, like, China flu ballots in, or, bamboo or whatever. It's just like, that's like, you're giving specifics and you're making like a huge assumption by that. I'm just saying that I know there's corruption in the system, but I'm not going to go out and tell you that, Trump falsified all of his votes. And because there's no specific evidence that points to that. Like, nothing has been proven in the judicial system and by any legal process, by any means, I would testify to that very fact. But when it has been, then I will say that. But, as of now, it hasn't.
Right. Now, you said something earlier that brought up a thought. You were saying that, now that you've gone on InfoWars and you've kind of cleared up some misconceptions maybe about you, if they make further statements, you can go after them for defamation. Have you considered maybe going after like Rudy Giuliani or this other person that you said is, trying to say that you were running a psyop and
Oh yeah. They're gonna get it, because you can't say that stuff and like think that you're gonna get away with it. There's people who've said less and been sued and won. But yeah, I've given them a chance to like shut up about it. And after I give you a chance and you just don't, then what do you expect me to do? You leave me no choice. So if it's true, you ain't gonna hear me say nothing about it. Like, but if it's untrue, I got to defend myself, especially if it's changing my life in ways that are almost irreversible, ruining relationships with people that I have relationships for years. If I got arrested because of what Rudy Giuliani said, which I can almost assure you that his connections probably helped that as well. He said with my brother, I stormed the Capitol with 266 members of Antifa. Tell me, where's your
Giuliani
evidence
said
there?
that?
Yeah, you didn't see the text message from, okay, I'll tell you about this. This is interesting. So Rudy Giuliani texts a post on Twitter, a text from my brother. Seriously, James Sullivan. He's not my biological brother. We're both adopted, but I didn't even know that my brother was talking to Rudy Giuliani. I had no idea like that was even like he had any sort of connection to him. But regardless of that, he posted a text from James saying that I stormed the Capitol with 266 members of Antifa. And then, who Cash Kelly or whoever that guy is?
Cash Patel. Yeah.
Yeah. He mentions Cash in that text, which gets even weirder, right? Because I'm not, to this day, I didn't hear about Cash until like a month ago, but I'm not sure how that plays into the situation. But what I'm saying is that he says this, and like that's completely untrue. You have no evidence. Like, you will literally find no evidence at all because it's not there that 266 members of Antifa stormed the Capitol. But it was posted on his Twitter with how many followers, millions of people viewing that, but they all seriously believed in it because Rudy Giuliani, of course, he said something. I'm gonna believe in it, and things like that can't be let by. And then he goes on to his podcast and starts talking about how I shot somebody in Provo and how like I'm the ringleader and how I was there to instigate. And I'm like, the reason I'm arrested is directly with what you're saying. So and I got arrested the second he had that podcast. Like the day after, I already knew once he started mentioning me, I was gonna get arrested. You can't think that political figures like that don't have any weight.
Right.
And he's a lawyer, so he knows.
Well, he admitted that he still has contacts in the FBI.
When did he admit that?
A while back. He made up a whole story, which he just copped to recently, saying that this was when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it had to have been. And it was getting down to the wire. And he made statements saying that he had friends who worked in the FBI who were keeping him informed. And they, if I remember correctly, they were telling him that Clinton was under investigation or that they were reopening the investigation. So now that he's under some heat, for other criminal cases, he has come forward. He's admitted that, I kind of made that up. That was all.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's even more of a reason that, suing him will be easier to win because he's already been lying about all of this stuff. And like, it just proves his track record in doing so. And, it's interesting to see the government kind of go in and start attacking like these lawyers of Trump and his supporters. And do I think they're right in doing so? Yeah, because they're spreading false information, and especially a lawyer to do so, where you're like the standard of, integrity and ethics in the law sense of like keeping to the truth. It's not okay for you to do. You're not some, the public figure that can run conspiracies. You're actually somebody who represents not only the law itself, but you represented the president as well. So how is that acceptable? It's just not.
Yeah, no, I mean, we just saw last week that judge sanctioned Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell and made that same argument that, you're held to a higher standard. You're not just somebody out on Twitter or Parler, bringing up conspiracy theories and batting stuff around just to see what sticks. So, yeah. And I mean, so far he still has his license to practice law, but we'll see.
He's going to get revoked. I mean, he has it suspended right now, right? In like DC and New York.
Two different states. Yeah. In DC and New York.
Yeah, I think he'll get it revoked. It's just a matter of time. You've noticed how he hasn't been saying anything in the media, or like there's nothing about him. I find that interesting because at the beginning he was talking a lot. Now he's shutting up.
Yeah. Now let's put this to rest, because I want to hear your side of this. You had or have a criminal case pending stemming from that one event that you talked about earlier. And it was saying, I think I read that it was based on rioting and criminal mischief. Is that correct?
Yep.
So what are those charges stemming from against you, and where does that case stand? What's
that's a lot. I mean, it's been going on for a year. I haven't had a trial date yet, so I mean that's frustrating. But hopefully soon I'll get one.
Is that because of COVID, or?
They say it is because of COVID, but I don't buy that. But it's how it is. Mm-hmm. So they've been extending it out, yes, because of COVID, and they don't have time to conduct trials. So I have been waiting, and now that those restrictions have been lifted, and due to the DC stuff, I've been putting on a little bit of priority. But as far as like the criminal mischief and riot, that's where all this stuff sort of started. And that goes back to my brother, James. And so I talked to the provost of the police department, like right after the day after, and helped organize a peaceful protest or whatever. And so I had no problem with them. Like there's nothing like wrong. They weren't telling me that I was under investigation or was going to be charged. Otherwise, I wouldn't first off talk to the police, right? So that being stated, what happened is my brother went and talked to the Provo Police Department, said that I organized the hit of the driver, like that I organized. I don't even know how this is possible, because I don't know the driver. Nobody would know the driver. It's just a random dude. And said that I organized like 3 other people to go and shoot this driver. There's video of him saying it. And not only that, we have discovery evidence from prosecution of my brother saying this. And I'm like, so y'all charging me because of my brother, which has no evidence whatsoever. And I got to go and be going through this crap for a year now. And not only that, he got like the Capitol situation happens again. But, on the flip side, at least when I go through it, I'll be, acquitted. It'll come out that it's a lie because there's nothing like that. But my brother's going to face his own serious battles for lying to one federal agents and, the police. And so, yeah, I mean, that is, what it's stemming from, the Provo stuff, because, again, I was there with the camera capturing what was going on. And do I think the driver should have ran over the protesters? No, I was upset about that, even if I was behind the camera. Like, you can't just run through a crowd of people and think that's okay. Do I think somebody should have gotten shot? I think you should move out of the way before you shoot somebody. But that I can't tell you what that person was facing and how they felt threatened to pull the trigger. That's not for me to say, but I can say it's not okay for people to drive through protesters in any way, especially when they weren't even vandalizing things. So that's where it comes from.
So were the protesters BLM protesters?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And so the person who pulled out the gun and shot the driver was a BLM protester?
Yeah, I mean, he's been at other BLM protests from what I saw prior. I mean, he would block off the streets with like his house. So it's a trailer and a truck. He would just block off the entire intersection. So that's how I knew of him. Like I didn't know him personally, but yeah. So even in the moment he was masked up. So like I saw the trigger, or I saw the gun and him shoot at the car, but I didn't know it was him at the time because he was all masked up. So later we found it out through his arrest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your brother again, because that was going to be my next question is about your family. They are, from what I understand, ultra conservative. Is that correct?
You got that correct. I mean, hardcore right. I mean, I talked to my dad yesterday for like 3 hours because we had an argument on this. Like he thinks Trump is the savior. He thinks that I'm dead serious.
Wow.
Like 3 hour argument on convincing him that the election was not stolen or rigged. And also I was arguing the fact that this entire system's corrupt. You can't just place it on, one party or another. Like both are playing into the game. He was dead set that Trump is going to be that person that saves America and that, he is basically God, right? That's going to keep the Constitution in place and uphold our liberties and freedoms. And then also we got into like the COVID vaccines and stuff and how those were COVID. The vaccines aren't real. They're completely fake. They're all fake and they're all made up. And like, they're all this genetically engineered stuff to make you die, basically just kill you from the inside.
That's your father's take on it?
Both my mom
is what he said. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that gives you an essence of how hard right it is.
So they've bought everything. Like they've drank all the Kool-Aid. The glass jar is empty.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they watch ONN and Fox, and after ONN called me Antifa militant and a terrorist, and they still believe in them. Like they're like, oh yeah, what they said was false. They were just repeating everything that the other news outlets said, but we believe them on everything else. I'm like, if they were willing to lie about one thing, they're going to lie about a lot of other things too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. Now, were you ever conservative? Did you ever subscribe to that ideology and then change, or were you always just diametrically opposed to what your family believes?
I didn't really have a sense of political standing or even a desire to till like 2020, maybe 2019, just because the only thing that got me into it was like the protests occurring and me being thrusted into that community. And then people said, what do you believe? What are your political leaning? People started calling me like a Marxist or a communist after the Provo stuff. And I know Animal Farm and all of that stuff, but like I truly like, as far as me believing in Marxism or like a true in-depth understanding of what that would entail as far as me acting in a specific way, I didn't have a grasp on that. So I was like, okay, like, let me study more about it. Let me understand like what really is going on. And so that's when I started to like understand, where I fit in and develop that. So, I mean, that's kind of where my entire life has been. I mean, I don't really watch the news growing up. I didn't really care for that. I wasn't into politics at all. So, I mean, only until like the recent years have I been into politics. So if you're talking about me being growing up in a conservative household, yeah, I grew up in a conservative household. Did my actions or like how I acted resemble what my parents had taught me in a certain point in time? Yeah, because I lived under their roof. When I moved out of their roof, I developed into my own individual and my own beliefs. But as a lot of people, when you're under your parents' roof, you're going to do what they say. And, I grew up LDS, if people didn't know. So like Mormon. So you want to talk about conservative, no sex till marriage. You're not going to you can't date till you're 16, things like that. So, I mean, I was literally forced to do that in like that type of religion. So it's like my conservativeness was because I was in a religion and an environment that was forcing me to be such. And almost so when
almost cult-like LDS.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty insane from what I've read and understand about it.
I don't know. Have you heard about like temple and baptisms for the dead and stuff like that?
Not that, no, but yeah,
Okay.
just
Uh,
several stories I read about LDS and yeah, the leadership and crazy stuff.
I can say this, that I mean, for me, I haven't had an issue with leadership or whatever. Like, yeah, they believe in their own things, but that's a different subject. But the cultist thing that I've seen is temple baptisms for the dead, where first off, you have to be like completely like pure, and the bishop gives you like a temple recommend, right? And then you go to the temple and you do baptisms for the dead. So people who haven't baptized in life, they baptize in death. And the room that you go into is a entire, there's a glass window that you can see the altar with oxen around it, and there's a pool in the middle of water where they're doing baptisms, and then there's sort of people sitting on the outside praying and looking in on the to the altar, and everybody's dressed in white. And so that's like very cultist to me. That's like a cultist scene where everybody's like worshiping an altar and like praying for the dead. Like looking back on the situation, I'm like, damn, this is very cultish. I was a part of it, but now I'm gone.
Yeah. Wow. So do you and your brother have any relationship at this point?
I really have not talked to him since I was 18. Yes, I talked to him one time for a documentary. That was about a year ago. I talked to him for the documentary that we're doing, and that's it. After that, I don't have conversations with him. I'll tell you this. On Thanksgiving, when he comes to the house, I'm sitting across from him. I'm sitting like this.
Wow.
I'm not recognizing you. Are you there? I don't know you're there. And that's how I treat him, because I just don't talk to him because of what he's doing.
Yeah. Wow. So, but you do maintain a relationship with your parents, obviously, if you're spending 3 hours arguing with your dad.
My mom's birthday yesterday, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing is even though my parents are conservative, they've kicked my brother out of the house association with them because of what he's doing. So I mean, they're not taking a side, even though like you could say I'm on the left more so than I'm on the right.
Well, that's good. That's good. So they're being a little more realistic about it. In saying what he's done, do you mean like the things that he said about you?
Yeah, false statements that he's given to the police, FBI, and like causing the entire situation of me being arrested in the first place. I mean, when you have discovery evidence of him giving, testifying to the police that I did something that I didn't. I mean, they can't get down with that. It's just like, first off, how would he know if I haven't talked to this man? Like, and how are the police going to take that statement with little evidence whatsoever? Like, you don't have a recording of me doing it. You don't have video. You don't have, like, what other proof do you have to corroborate your story? Like, can I go into the police station and say so-and-so committed a crime and they're just going to go and arrest them? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be the way it works. Wow.
It is, though, like it's concerning a little bit, but you got to have your day in court, right?
Yeah.
In the meantime, you got to put up with the crap. You got to put up with first off, the public accusing you of doing it, because you're not innocent until proven guilty. Once you're charged, you're automatically guilty. And then, also the fact is that you got to go through this legal process the entire time. You think that a job is going to want to, like, employer is going to hire you, any good employer, it's just simply not the case. So it's like throughout that process, and it, I guess, set you off path of where you were originally in life. And you might be able to get back on track once it's all over. But for a year, in this case that I've been playing out, a year, I have had to battle this. And I would be hard pressed to say, if I wasn't charged in Provo, would I be charged at the Capitol? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes in between that I won't get into here, but let's just say they were in direct contact with the FBI the entire time. And the concerning part is prior to the Capitol, I post several posts of warning that it was going to happen, right? Like on my social media accounts, people have seen it, the faster going to DC, stop them or whatever, right? So like those things like that, or like, Mayor Bowser put out the statement of the National Guard coming. We had an initiative to like call the all the hotels to not allow people, the Trump supporters, to like stay there. Just some of like the direct actions that the local BLM groups in DC were doing. But regardless of that, the Provo Police Department said they were monitoring all my social media accounts. And this stemmed from a hearing that I had with them. And they were telling me, they were trying to hold me without bail, all right? Because they said that I was a danger to society, saying that because I was out there documenting and recording everything that was going on, that I was, stirring up all these riots and I should be held in jail without bail. And the judge watched the videos that I took and he's like, hey, there might be some things that I don't agree with in the video as far as what he's saying, but this is free speech and he's recording the events and he's not organizing it. So he chose not to hold me without bail. But through that, I discovered that the Provo Police Department was reporting everything to the FBI that was posted on my social media accounts. This was like 2 weeks prior, 3 weeks prior to the insurrection at the Capitol that they said this. So tell me the FBI didn't know about me warning everybody about the January 6th. Tell me the FBI didn't know about January 6th occurring. They blatantly ignored the situation. So, I mean,